following is a production of Medfield TV.
Hello and welcome to another discussion with. Today I have a very special guest. A lot of people in Medfield are going to know who I'm talking to today. I have Donna Olson, the principal of the Wheelock School. Donna, you are retiring this year, but what a pleasure to have you sit down with us.
Oh, thank you, Brad. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about, I guess we'll get started with kind of your career. Where was it that you got started working?
Well, I was born and raised in Smithfield, Rhode Island, and really a homegrown girl. I went to URI and my master's at Rhode Island College, and so I began teaching in Smithfield as a second grade teacher. And did that for a while, got my master's in reading education, and then was able to transition to become a reading specialist. And I was a reading specialist in Smithfield for 17 years. In the middle, I had a brief stint in Norton, and I was a reading teacher there as well. And then I had a lot of opportunities for leadership, delivering professional development, and I was fortunate to be able to enter an aspiring principal program. And the school committee and the superintendent supported me in that program. It was a one-year full internship with coursework at a different school with a mentor principal, and I spent the year in that role, and then ironically a position opened in my district and I was named the principal of Raymond C. LaPerche School in 2004. So I was a principal in Smithfield for 8 years, and then left Rhode Island and came to Wheelock in 2012. And I've been there ever since.
Yeah, it seems like everything kind of just built on itself there, but that's incredible. What does it take to be a principal? Like, what does it take to go from teacher to principal? What was that like?
Well, I think that because I became a reading specialist, it was a natural progression. A lot of the reading responsibilities are quasi-administrative, so I worked really closely with my principal. I was chair of the student support team. I was on the school improvement team, so I had a lot of leadership opportunities and opportunities to provide professional development in the role as a reading specialist. And I enjoyed the big picture. I enjoyed that global lens and working and reaching out to a lot of folks. And when the opportunity became available, Rhode Island worked through a program at the state level for alternative pathways to the principalship. And when I became familiar with it, it sounded really interesting, and I received some encouragement, so I just decided to go in that direction.
That must be awesome that you had encouragement. Was it from the superintendent or from a principal that you were working with?
It was with a principal I was working with who has since become a very good friend and colleague, and the superintendent, and when they approached the school committee, they were very much in favor. They were looking forward and noted that they had principals that were nearing retirement. They knew they would need replacements, and I guess they thought it might be a good idea.
That's awesome. And so now in Smithfield you had what seems like a really interesting upbringing. Was you grew up on an apple farm.
I did.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? Not everyone gets to grow up on an apple farm.
No, not at all. Well, Smithfield was a lot like Medfield is today. It's grown incredibly. When I was growing up, it was like 11 or 12,000 people. So it was apple country. And I do remember, even as a little girl, we had the Apple Blossom Queen, and we had the parade, and it was really delightful. And it was a really innocent, really natural upbringing. You know, my friends were my cousins, my siblings. You know, we all had chores, but you could find me often reading a book under a tree, maybe ducking out on weeding. But, you know, it was a really nice lifestyle. And my mom and dad had a pick-your-own business. So we had a lot of customers, a lot of relationships within the community. And it was fun when my students would come to pick, because even after I started teaching, I still helped out on weekends in the country store. So it was a really nice upbringing.
That's awesome. And then so going from there to becoming a teacher for 30 years.
Yes.
You were a teacher,
right.
Which is incredible. What was the spark that led you into teaching?
Oh, I really had a lot of opportunities. When I started the University of Rhode Island, I actually was a nursing major. And I kind of was one of those people that I got that feeling when certain things got a little bloody. So I said, oh, I'm not sure this is quite right for me. So I was doing some volunteer work, I was doing babysitting, and I really liked young children, and I decided to start taking some education courses and fell in love. So it really became the right decision for me while I was in college.
It seems like you always wanted to work with kids or something.
Yeah.
You just kind of fell into the right path there.
Right.
And what's different about teaching to being a principal? I feel like the difference must be astounding of being in the classroom to administrative.
It is. I think especially from when I started, the differences are incredible, but even the difference from going from a classroom to the principalship, it's just going from, when you're a classroom teacher, you have a tremendous amount on your plate, a lot of responsibilities for your students, and you're very focused on the individuals. You have that wonderful opportunity to become very close. You know them very well. When you are a principal, especially right now, I'm a principal of a school with 407 students, it's hard to have that deep knowledge of each and every child, though I try really hard to get to know them and be involved, and I love my relationship with them, but I think the classroom teaching is much more intimate, and there's tremendous gratification from that individual work with children, seeing someone get a concept that might have been challenging, and I think that was very, very special. Now it's more celebrations of the big global events, really trying to make a difference in school culture, teaching students, empathy and how we behave as global citizens and citizens within our school, working with teachers, providing professional development, really interacting with a lot of different stakeholders, working with parents, really, and stakeholders like our MCPE, our PTO, lots of relationships that you might not become quite so involved with when you're a classroom teacher.
Oh my God, that was a lot.
It is. It is a lot.
That's an incredible amount. And to think you're an elementary school teacher, to be focusing on students that are just learning how to read and write, but you're also teaching them how to become global participants. That's amazing. What does that look like? What are you doing there?
Well, I'm also a member of the Social Emotional Learning Task Force in Medfield, and we really have recognized that the importance of educating the whole child, and that really does involve working hand in hand with parents to ensure that our students, have exposure to differences, diversity, really teaching good citizenship. We have core values at our school: respect, responsibility, and safety, modeling for them as adults what that looks like, how we are respectful with each other. We also, Open Circle is our foundational social emotional learning program, and teaching those values in common language. We have a social thinking curriculum where we teach expected and unexpected behavior. So really trying to shape for them what it means to be a good friend, to be kind, and we have a lot of initiatives to get us to that.
It's funny that when you think about it, it boils down to those simple little things too of how to be kind, how to be respectful.
Right.
You were actually just telling me before we started this interview about the HOOT program.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about the HOOT program.
Well, I think it's really important to recognize children, and I know that a while back they talked about the trophy generation, when kids got trophies just for showing up. And I understand that, and I think there is a place for it, but I do think that, we need to let children know that there are things that, not everyone gets, but if you do something really outstanding or you step up and you help someone, that we want to recognize you for those special times. So we started a recognition program called the HOOT program, and it's because at Wheelock School we have Ralph the Owl. He's our mascot, and so a child can earn a HOOT by demonstrating respect, responsibility, and safety in not just a day-to-day way, but something maybe above and beyond. And when they earn a HOOT, they get a necklace with an owl charm, and then they are invited to a principal's breakfast each term. So, it's become a really nice program, and I think kids want to strive to earn HOOTs because, they like that recognition, and I think it's a good way for the boys and girls to realize that, I'm a good person, I do what I'm supposed to do. I may not get a HOOT, but that's okay. I'm still participating, and I will get one if, I do something extra special.
That's awesome. And now you were a principal at Wheelock since 2012.
Right.
So what was that experience like? What was Wheelock? What was being the principal at Wheelock? What was that like?
Well, it's been a wonderful experience. When I came on board in 2012, I was hired by Bob McGuire, the former superintendent. I was able to work with him for a year, and then Dr. Marsden came on board. And in both situations, honestly, it's just been a tremendous opportunity to collaborate. We have a wonderful administrative team. We have wonderful teachers, a very strong pro-education community, tremendous support for our schools. And I think part of that is because we have a very unique configuration in Medfield where we have the Memorial School, which is pre-K1, Wheelock being 2-3, and Dale being 4-5. And with that kind of a configuration, the whole town supports you because your children go through every school, where it can be a little different when you have neighborhood schools at a K-5. And that tremendous support from the community has really allowed us to accomplish so much. We did a lot of homegrown work when I first arrived, but as time has gone on, working collaboratively with teachers and administration, we've brought a lot of great programs to the district. Our teachers have all been trained in the Fountains and Pinnell reading assessment system. We have acquired the FOSS science program for our students. We use Envision Math 2.0. So we've brought a lot of programs into the district, provided a lot of professional development, and you really see it in the classrooms. The kids are achieving beautifully, but with that, we still recognize that child and that we have to provide that nurturing environment so that it's a really full, robust experience with a lot of child-friendly activities that are engaging, and we try to make learning fun. We have a lot of great things at Wheelock that I think really inspire them to love school.
You know, I think one of the more difficult things that elementary schools have to deal with is that balance between a kid is learning for the very first time,
Right.
reading, writing,
Right.
math, but you're also developing that student, the child that
Exactly.
it's so important. What's that balance like?
Well, it can be challenging because there are things you have to get through. The teachers worry about teaching the curriculum, and it's important, it certainly is, but you also have to develop a love of learning. So you want to do that in a variety of ways by creating engaging, diverse types of activities, differentiating to meet the needs of all kinds of learners in your classrooms. It's really challenging. We've been fortunate in our district to have a lot of resources to be able to support our students and our teachers. So, you know, it's a balance, and I think it's reading the room. It's really knowing your students and knowing, okay, right now I think we need a movement break. So we'll put on a wonderful program called Go Noodle, and the kids will have a physical movement break. And, or it might be putting down the lights and some quiet time after recess to settle before we begin math. And so there's a lot of, or it might be bringing Franklin in for a visit. And Franklin is our service dog, and he has been at Wheelock School for a few years now, and he's made a tremendous impact on our culture.
Yeah, we did a little piece on Franklin as well.
You did.
We have that, so you guys can check that out if you wanted to.
Yes.
And find out a little more about Franklin. He seems like an awesome addition.
He has
to
been
the schools.
fabulous.
That was great.
He's a great comfort to everyone.
Absolutely. But you know, the noodle program, I just
Yeah,
saw
Go
you.
Noodle.
It's funny. When you said it, you did a little shoulder shimmy as you said that. You said the noodle program.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
that.
So what is that? Is that like
So Go Noodle, it's an app, or it's on the web, and it is a program that provides music to different movements. So you turn it on and you provide a movement break, and the kids can get up, and they can the teacher can select what type they wish, and they can do, and there's a leader, and they take them through like a 2-minute activity
awesome.
where they have a break and really can get the wiggles out and do some movement. Some of them are really engage mindfulness, so it might be deep breathing, it might be calm, peaceful music, and so teachers can gauge what they think their students need
awesome.
and embed it in their day so that kids have those opportunities. And we've also we've done a lot with the environments of the classroom today. They're not typical. We were very fortunate to realize grants from the MCPE, the Medfield Coalition for Public Education, One of them in particular was providing alternative seating and tools for the classroom. So you may have hug-a-chairs, you may have you know, wiggle chairs. Like there's all kinds of different seating today that some kids need, and standing desks. And we have things of that nature to support our learners.
And so, I mean, the wide range of things that you were in charge of, or that you were implementing, it must have been a lot over the past 7 years just at Wheelock to be seeing all these developments going across. But what is the thing that you're most proud of that maybe you worked on?
Well, I think one of the most proud moments was introducing the idea of having a service animal at the school, and going through the process of you know, engaging the staff. And then once the staff was excited about it, determining, you know, well, how are we going to accomplish it, then educating the families about it, because certainly you can imagine it was novel and new, and that required education, because we really wanted to ensure that we were successful. We had complete support from the superintendent. So that was a process to go through, because we worked with the needs organization, so there was a lot of background, a lot of research, a lot of education. So that was really exciting to be able to bring something like that to our school. I'm really proud of our staff. Really, everything's been a partnership. I think it's really important for a principal to have a good relationship with its staff, its teachers, and I think you know, seeing through all of the developments, introducing mindfulness to our culture, being part of the introduction of a lot of the programming we talked about, but working in partnership, having committees on our social emotional learning, participating in report card committees. It's collaboration, and because our teachers are very talented and they are the ones in the trench, and I don't think any principal can really do the job unless they have a relationship with their staff.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit into now we're talking about you're retiring.
I
so
know.
What was the thought process behind that? How did you come to terms with the fact that I'm going to retire this year?
Great question. I like even numbers. This is my 40th year in education. 25 as a teacher, 15 as a principal. I love my work. I love Wheelock School and Medfield. It's been very good to me. But I was at a point, I think, that I just want to do some different things. I'd like to cut back a little bit on full-time employment, have some flexibility to maybe do some special projects, to maybe have a reduced type of schedule, to be able to spend a little more time with family and friends, and pursue some interests that I might like that I don't have time for. It's a very busy life as a principal, and I just thought it just felt like the right time for me.
What are you going to miss most?
Oh, I think the community, the staff, the children, the parents, everyone. It's just been a wonderful environment. Every year I tell my PTO board that I feel so blessed because I've had such wonderful people to work with. Our administrative team is a joy. The parents are supportive, collaborative. It's just been a wonderful district. It's been a wonderful experience.
And that's one of the things too, is I totally expected you to say the people. And
Yeah.
I just feel like elementary schools specifically are such a community amongst everyone that's in that building.
Right.
It's such a loving, caring relationship that I think everyone has in that building.
It is. It does. It does. And I think we try to promote that.
Yeah, it's very unique. It's a unique place to be and working in.
Right, right.
That's amazing. Now, the Wheelock School specifically, what are you going to miss about that? What are some of the events that you used to go to? What are some of the things that you used to look forward to?
Well, I don't think anyone will be surprised when I say that I'll miss Rocky Woods. Rocky Woods, when I arrived at Wheelock, was just like amazing. It is a culminating activity for the 3rd grade social studies curricular project, and it is an enactment of the first Thanksgiving. And we are so fortunate in Medfield to have the Rocky Woods Reservation, and the staff that from the physical education department to my classroom teachers to our support staff to the Girl Scouts of Medfield, and so many parent volunteers that all come together to work together to create this amazing feast and myriad of activities for our students. They get to fish, they get to have archery. The Girl Scouts cook a stew over the campfire, and the stew contains vegetables from our Victory Garden, which is another wonderful opportunity at Wheelock School. We have a beautiful garden. We work with Sonia Johansson, has been a wonderful resource, and our master gardeners have been so helpful in maintaining and supporting our students as they work through the planting. They plant in 2nd grade and they harvest in 3rd grade, so they get to see the fruits of their labor literally in the food they eat at the feast. So I'm going to miss that a great deal. I'm going to miss the Winter Carnival, which is one of our big PTO fundraisers of the year. It's really exciting. I'm really fond of our open circle assemblies. We have assemblies for our students. Our teachers and classes put them on every couple of months, and they focus on some of the lessons being embedded in open circle. So we've done so many topics, from diversity to kindness to empathy, really trying to build on that community and teaching all of those life skills. And I think they're powerful. I love it. Any opportunity we have to come together as a school so we can, talk about, current issues and bring forth conversation, to help our children grow. So, there's just so much on a day-to-day basis. We've had wonderful support from the PTOs for wonderful enriching opportunities, programming, Museum of Science, the Tanglewood Marionettes. There's so many things everyone looks forward to. Jump Rope for Heart. We have this incredible gentleman, Mark Rothstein, who comes every year and just amazes us with his jump rope feats. And so for 3 weeks, you'll see kids jump roping outside nonstop, and that's really enjoyable to see. So we have a lot of even day-to-day activities are just enjoyable. Just walking into classrooms and seeing them do a science experiment, are just wonderful, wonderful activities.
That's amazing. And now, in education, it's constantly changing, constantly things are moving forward. What are some of the things that you'd like to see maintain and continue from today on?
Well, I think, really capturing Medfield and those relationships, I hope and I expect all of the support for our schools, all of the rich collaboration that occurs between the administration, the parents, the teachers. I think that your greatest work is when you're able to collaborate, and I'm confident that that will continue. I think a lot of the program, I think we all have to be flexible. We have to change with the times. I think we've been really growing our technology and been very reflective and thoughtful about its inclusion in our curriculum. But I also think that with that, we have to be really careful to really stay true to childhood and our children and what they need, and they do need that one-to-one time, that face time with their families, that conversation over dinner, the monitoring of social media. Technology is fabulous. What a tool we now have. It's incredible, and it will continue to change and evolve. But with that said, I think we need to monitor screen time. I think we need to monitor what our kids are exposed to. We need to make sure that we really remember what's developmentally appropriate and try to adhere to some of those things. Everything that you did or that your parents did, just because it's in the past doesn't mean you should throw it out. There are some really great skills we have and that we've shared and brought forward, and I think they should continue.
And I think one of the things that you talked about too was, before this interview we talked about this, and you said to slow things down as well is the change that keeps coming, is maybe slow it down a little bit.
Absolutely. I think we are in such a go, go, go world. I think we're recognizing it. We're seeing, unfortunately, I think we're not the only district that we're seeing, student stress, staff stress, parent stress. And I think that we have to pay attention, and I really was thrilled to be part of the SEL task force for 2 years, because I think the committee is moving in such a positive direction to really recognize needs and put things in place to address some of those things. Last year we accomplished some goals in our homework policy. We kind of backed up a little bit on expectations for younger learners, on expectations for homework, trying to really indicate that it's having that free play time. There's so much you can observe with free play. We participated in the Global School Play Day this year, and with one of the thoughts being, let's observe their ability to problem solve. How do they solve those dilemmas that occur on the playground? And when we were young, maybe we didn't have, mom and dad in earshot or right around the corner to intervene. How equipped are they? What do we need to do to make them resilient, to help them learn how to solve problems? And those are things that you really can't do with technology. That's one-on-one time. That's reading stories together, having conversations. So slowing it down to really spend that quality time, maybe not choose 5 activities and maybe pare it down to 1 or 2, might be better time spent.
It's amazing. So I coach youth wrestling, and that's one of the things that we talk about all the time with our parents is let's focus on maybe 1 or 2 activities for your kid to be doing, because what I've been seeing a lot of people do is they want their kids to experience everything all at once.
Right.
And there's a lot that's going on, and I think there's a lot of pressure on people that the kids need to be getting everything now. Right. And it's like, well, slow it down, and maybe we'll have them enrich in 1 or 2 things.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing. But so, I hear this all the time, is that children are our future, and that's always the one of the most important things that we talk about in education. Given that you've spent all this time with kids, and that you've led them, you've inspired them, you've taught them how to read and write, what is it that you can tell us about our future? What can we expect with these students that are growing up? They're going to be our future leaders.
Oh my goodness, they are. And I think they have the world right in front of them. They have so many opportunities, and that, I think, is a message more commonly spoken to our students today, is that you can do anything. You can be anyone. You have the power to choose, and you can go out in the world. And it's so much broader. Even when I was growing up, Rhode Islanders are very notorious for staying in Rhode Island. And coming up to Massachusetts was like, wow, that's a big deal for Mrs. Olson to do that. But these kiddos have the opportunity to travel, to see the world. So many of our children have had opportunities to go abroad, to go to the Far East. And I think that they're going to be working with people from all over the world. They may be telecommuting, they may be traveling. And that's why our world language programs, giving the kids all the opportunities, all the tools to equip themselves, all those skills to be out in a global society. I think that's what you're going to see. And I've been just particularly thrilled with watching some of my students grow. Having spent 30 years in my hometown, I've had the distinct pleasure of starting as a teacher in a school, returning as its principal, and having children of my former students, and to speak with them on an adult level, to see how successful they've become, through a lot of great nurturing along the way, I think is very rewarding. And I think our children have every opportunity to be so successful, because the community is right there for them. It takes a village. I think that's something I've heard many times in Medfield, and I think we all wrap our arms around the boys and girls, and I think they have a very bright future.
What would you like to say? How would you like to say goodbye to the Wheelock School?
Goodness, that's hard. Maybe not goodbye, but maybe until we meet again. I've been promised I'll be invited to see the new Dale Street School when it opens in a few years. But I'm going to miss everyone, and I just hope that I wish everyone the very best for the most wonderful future.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
I think I speak for everyone in Medfield when I say thank you for all that you've done for our students.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated.
Absolutely. And so that was Donna Olson, everybody, our principal of Wheelock School, who is retiring this year. But I'd like to thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Discussion With.
Have exposure to differences, diversity, really teaching good citizenship. We have core values at our school: respect, responsibility, and safety, modeling for them as adults what that looks like, how we are respectful with each other. We also, Open Circle is our foundational social emotional learning program, and teaching those values in common language. We have a social thinking curriculum where we teach expected and unexpected behavior.
The preceding was a production of Medfield TV.